Greetings, brothers and sisters. The black community may have destroyed its greatest opportunity ever. I preface my primary point with a brief explanation of why the cannabis plant, or marijuana as it is called after it is altered for smoking, was declared illegal in this country. The early 1900s ushered in one of the most lucrative industries in this country's history. The use of wood pulp for the newspaper industry made William Randolph Hearst one of the wealthiest men in the world. In the 1930s, Hearst became concerned about the threat of cannabis to his newspaper industry because cannabis could be used for the same purpose as wood pulp and many other purposes. Therefore, Hearst knew that if he didn't defame and destroy the cannabis industry, his newspaper dynasty would be in jeopardy. So, he used his power and influence to call in political favors. Hearst, politicians and corporations, particularly DuPont, launched the most deceitful and demonizing campaign in American history. Cannabis was once a staple crop of farmers until DuPont and others shut this industry down out of greed to maintain chemicals and pharmaceuticals for American consumption. The powers that be also wanted to keep Americans dumping billions of dollars into the healthcare industry instead of using cannabis as an alternative for numerous diseases and ailments. I'll amplify this statement momentarily. Brothers and sisters, these are the reasons use of the cannabis plant was declared illegal and has continued to be so, although it is now legal in several states and rising. Now, the heart of my essay. Brothers and sisters, over the last 40 plus years in this country, how many billions of dollars would you say black people have made selling this little plant in nature's garden? Think about it. If we took every dollar every black person has made in this country selling cannabis over the last 40 plus years, the figure would be in the hundreds of billions of dollars. If the enemy within wasn't in control of so many of us, the black community could have had any and everything it ever wanted and needed. But because the enemy within was and still is in control of far too many of us, we messed up this golden opportunity. If we had any self-control, we would not need guns to carry out this endeavor. If we could have risen above our hatred and jealousy for one another and our greed, there is no reason this multi-billion-dollar endeavor could not have been conducted for constructive use in the black community. Let me address another aspect of this matter. A lot of black people are upset at the fact that marijuana is legal in some states and spreading to others. They are upset because they don't want white corporations and the government to profit from it. Excuse me a moment. Well, as I've already elucidated, we had a golden opportunity to do a great deal of good with the billions of dollars we made selling cannabis over the last 40 plus years. But, once again, we squandered that opportunity via jealousy, hatred, and greed. Yet this opportunity still exists. Now, one matter we can be pretty certain of is that these large, white-owned corporations who sell cannabis will create all sorts of programs for the black community's benefit, as many of them often do. So, be no longer upset because white people will get rich selling cannabis. Many of us got rich selling cannabis and did nothing to help anyone other than our selfish selves. Many of us are still getting rich selling cannabis and still aren't doing anything to help anyone other than our selfish selves. White companies will start social service programs, open clinics, revitalize parks, renovate schools, feed and clothe the homeless domestically as well as in Africa, South and Central America, and other poverty-stricken countries, sponsor senior programs, fund research for diseases, biotechnology, mental disorders, and much, much more with the billions of dollars they make from selling cannabis. But let's be frank, you already know this. Now, it is very important for me to stress that I am not promoting the creation of a criminal enterprise for the black community or anything ridiculous like that. I have simply uncovered the lies, deceit, and hypocrisy among our powers that be and exposed how the black community could have benefited from one of nature's most versatile creations. I might also add that by politicians and corporations denying Americans use of the cannabis plant, they have caused your and my family, friends, and loved ones to suffer and die unnecessarily. With this in mind, I want to make it crystal clear that I do not condone altering and then selling and smoking the cannabis plant for recreational purposes. Smoking marijuana, brothers and sisters, intoxicates your bloodstream, impairs your memory, impairs your perception, impairs your judgment and learning, distorts your sight, sound, and timing. Brothers and sisters, smoking marijuana creates tar in your lungs. Tar in your lungs. I trust this makes an impression on you. Now, for those who suffer from severe or life-threatening ailments like cancer, glaucoma, or epileptic seizures, I accept that it may be practical for them to partake of cannabis via smoking it, although there are alternative ways to smoking cannabis, such as vaporizing it. Now, it is my understanding that clothes, textiles, paints, soap, lotions, ointments, automobile fuel, and numerous other necessities can be made from the cannabis plant, along with the numerous diseases and ailments that can be treated. This, brothers and sisters, is what I am referring to when I stress the constructive use of cannabis for the benefit of the black community. Let me repeat this for emphasis. I do not condone selling and smoking cannabis for recreational purposes. I only condone the intelligent use of it, which is using it to heal diseases and ailments, particularly those that are life-threatening, and using it for daily necessities. Wisdom says, let sleeping dogs lie. That means move quietly past that vicious dog when you see it sleeping so as not to arouse him. In other words, if we could have kept this endeavor free of theft, assault, and murder, and thus the destruction of our own communities, we would not have so easily awakened the powers that be. If we had used this versatile plant to provide our living necessities, we would have gone about this endeavor in a noble manner, despite the deceptive, fork-tongued powers that be making it illegal. A little bit more food for thought. It was also once illegal and even punishable by lashes from the whip for blacks to learn to read. Yet the wise slave read in secrecy for his benefit, although it was illegal for him to do so. Furthermore, slaves in the field communicated secretly via song and chant to keep massa ignorant of their intent, although it was illegal for them to do so. Keep this in mind when you think about what once was, or still is, illegal in this country. Incidentally, Many of us are screaming for reparations. Well, I'm not overflowing with confidence that we'll ever get a nickel from this country. Yet with what I've spent the last few minutes elucidating, I trust you will consider that we could have created our own reparations and therefore would not have to keep begging the government for reparations. Wisdom is hidden in its simplicity, brothers and sisters. Wisdom is hidden in its simplicity. Had we utilized cannabis for more constructive purposes, we could have used the money we acquired from it to create an economic superpower, allowing the black community to be totally self-sufficient. As I close, please keep in mind the higher principles that would have had to have been activated from within us to have brought this into manifestation. Trust, honesty, practicality, order, familyhood, and so on. I trust I have been clear and concise, and I trust you have been compelled to consider what has been expressed here. Thank you for your time and consideration. Love and harmony, Brother Osiris.